I decided to Google my parents, and I couldn't believe what I found. My freshman year of high school began just days after my parents and I moved to a new town, Naperville, Illinois. They told me about the move just weeks before it happened. I was opposed to the idea, to say the least. I had spent my entire life in Kentucky. It was where all my friends were. The only reason my parents even wanted to move was because they were paranoid after a man a few blocks away from us was found murdered. This was undeniably disconcerting, but the idea of moving away because of it was completely absurd. Which is exactly what I told my parents. But it didn't matter what I said. They insisted that we leave as soon as possible. They chose Naperville because it was the town in which they spent their childhoods. I was enrolled in Southview High School, same high school they had attended. It was my first day there. I was eating lunch in the cafeteria, and as one could expect, I was alone. I didn't know a single person in the entire school. At the moment, this didn't matter to me. I was in no mood to socialize. I thought about my friends back in Kentucky. It was still summer for them, as my new school started a week earlier for whatever reason. They were all probably playing Xbox together, and I was missing it. I looked up to see an older boy walking in my direction. He was probably a senior, or at least a junior. I expect him to just walk past me, so I was surprised when he took a seat across from mine. "Hi," he said. "My name's Rupert." Flummoxed by his decision to converse with me, I simply replied, "My name's Jeffrey." It was then that I noticed that he didn't have a lunch tray. "Where's your lunch?" I don't need one." "Do you not have money?" I'm good, don't worry about it." "Well, okay." I stared at him with fascination. His look was right of the 1980s. He wore a thick leather jacket over a white t-shirt and had long blonde hair that he wore in a mullet. I presumed this was because he wanted to be unique, which I thought was laudable. "You new here?" "Yeah, my family just moved here from Kentucky." "How you like it so far?" Well, you thought about my answer for a moment. I decided not to tell him how I really felt. "It's nice." "But you'd rather be in Kentucky, right?" I nodded sheepishly, wondering what gave it away. Moves can be like that sometimes. You'll get used to it. Got any siblings? Nah. You know anyone here? Nah. Why'd you guys move? Well, I rolled my eyes just thinking about how ludicrous this answer would sound. A guy in our neighborhood got murdered. My parents got scared and wanted to get out of here. So I take it they never caught a murderer? Yeah, I don't think they have. Parents are weird. This I could agree with. Have you ever looked into your parents? Well, what do you mean, like Google them? Something like that. No. Why? You'd be surprised what you might find. You should do it sometime. Okay. I was a bit mystified, but lunch ended shortly after. 4 hours later, I was sitting up in my room working on my math homework. My teacher assigned a double-sided worksheet on the first day, something that never happened at my old school or any other school I'd been to. The moment I finished the worksheet, I stood up and walked to my door. I could finally go and play Xbox. I hoped that some of my friends were online, but just before I left the room, I remembered Rupert telling me to look at my parents. I couldn't deny I was a little bit curious. I decided to do a quick search and walked over to my computer. Looking back, it would have made more sense to search for them individually, but I googled them simultaneously, typing in my mother's name followed by my father's. The first link I found was an article about a 17-year-old boy who had been murdered. Both surprised and intrigued, I clicked on it. It was an old article from 1987. The first paragraph explained that the boy had been found stabbed to death in a forest in Naperville, Illinois. This made me think for a moment. My parents had both turned 50 earlier this year, so it quickly occurred to me that both of them would have been 17 in 1987, going to high school in Naperville. It was in the next paragraph that made my blood run cold. After reading it, I learned that my mother and father, people I had lived with and known my entire life, had been interrogated on speculation of first-degree murder. They were the last people to have seen with the boy, but they were never prosecuted due to a lack of evidence. I sat there in shock for a good 5 minutes, questioning everything I knew about my parents. I thought myself several times that they were not murderers, and the fact that they had been with the victim the same day he was killed was purely coincidental. I became more confident that this was the truth, and finally looked back at the article to see if there was any more information, which there was. At the bottom of the page was a picture of the murdered boy. It was Rupert.